Karazhan or Operation Mechagon or the upcoming Broker Dungeon just blow them away. And so
I
think that is where
everyone
the spirit
keeps
of
forgetting
10-player
the name.
content lives on today.
Which I forgot too.
It's an
but,
interesting take. I
detail.
hadn't thought of it that way. That sounds about right. We got a question submitted by Dizdick. Brian, this is for you. Will summoning stones be available at launch in the Burning Crusade, or are those going to come later?
Oh, that's an easy one. We will absolutely have those at launch in the
I got a
Burning
question
Crusade.
about Dizdick.
They were introduced originally with...
Hey, it's Soul, and we are back from Blizzcon line. It was a really short trip back from the con, and that was your bad joke. This is the closest thing to a Warcraft Weekly, so hey, it's Warcraft Weekly, and let's give thanks to the lovely folks on Twitch who are watching BlizzCon Line with me. You guys were a real treat. And let's also say hi to valued patrons like Alessandra and Tython and Josh, and to you folks at home and on the, with BlizzCon over, we're left scrambling for information. What did we learn from the con itself? What did we learn from the news outlets and the interviews, and what might have been missed in this flurry of news? I'm going to do my best to take what we've learned from the internet and piece it all together to answer the basic questions. What is 9.1, the Chains of Domination patch? When might it be? What happens on day one? And I'm kind of trailing off, but basically, how will this all flow? What is there to be excited and not so excited about? So let's get the when out of the way and speculate, because I'm just left with speculation and not facts. Patch 9.0.5 is going to drop sometime in March. It could be the first week, it could be the last week, and we learned that the 9.1 PTR will drop soon after that patch is released, so let's add like a week or two to that. A PTR cycle usually lasts about 3 months, so we're looking at no sooner than mid-June as the ballpark timeline. As soon as 9.05 drops and the PTR for 9.1 actually begins, then we can adjust our guess. Chains of Domination is patch 9.1, and it's the point where all of the Covenant stories collide. It includes an 8-boss mythic-only dungeon, which is called Tazavesh, the Veiled Market. Let's see how long I can pronounce that correctly. And it also includes a 10-boss raid, the Sanctum of Domination. There are additional wings and powers in Torghast. There's flying, there's special Covenant exclusive flying mounts, there's a pass at PvP talents, and, all the usual stuff that comes with a new season. Just like they said many moons ago, there won't be any new systems in 9.1, merely the expansion of existing systems, which we'll start getting into, but so far it seems like the standard fare that we'd get from a major patch, but details, really minute details have been pretty scarce, considering that the 9.05 isn't even out yet. Keep in mind that nearly everything that I talk about going forward is not chiseled in stone, but it's more like the direction that the team is going, and the final results could be a bit different. Chains of Domination is max level content, from the world content to obviously Torghast and the Mythic Dungeon. The requirements to access it are pretty soft though, as in be max level, choose a Covenant, and get them Covenant powers. It doesn't seem like you need to complete the entirety of the 9.0 Covenant campaign, which requires Renown level 22. 9.1 is going to have a meaty intro that should flow in the same direction regardless of your Covenant choice, but your choice will make the experience feel a little bit different. So for example, a Kyrian player might see one notable NPC while a Night Fae player will see a different one. A Necrolord player might be on a quest to ride into the Maw on Zeracris, their big old floating necropolis, but the Venthyr might fly in with a swarm of Stoneborn, something at that level. Most of 9.1 is going to take place in the Maw, but the experience will be very different from 9.0. As many have predicted, the Maw is going to be the front line in the battle versus the Jailer, and the Maw won't be the super oppressive space that it is right now. Throughout questing, we'll be able to reduce or straight up negate the Eye of the Jailer effects, meaning we can kind of hang out and stay in the area. And we can mount on our normal mount, although we cannot fly. That's kind of predicted. And there's going to be a mix of rotating dailies, similar to how Mechagon worked, as well as what was described as reverse invasions, I guess. If we think of assaults in Legion and Battle for Azeroth, then I would guess that every now and then, a location in the Maw would light up for a few hours with some assault objectives and a capstone to get some more goodies, which it's basically the same thing as assaults, but maybe it's meant to feel like we're the ones on the offensive. As for the old Maw stuff, I think that Stygia will still be a thing, but there won't be any new Stygia rewards added. It might still be a good idea to try and pick up Stygia perks in the Maw, but ultimately they're just perks and not requirements, especially if in 9.1 we can beat back the Eye of the Jailer debuff. But Venari will have new items available and a new currency to farm that hopefully won't be drained upon death. Korthia is a new location to explore located inside the Maw, and there's been very little to share about this other than what was already shared. Like, we would learn about these so-called first ones. The jailer wants something from it, and there's a bunch of cool stuff to get, like a hand mount. Torghast is also nearby, so we'll talk about that real quick too. There's going to be new floor types as in cell blocks. Now, considering that there are 2 spots for cell blocks that have yet to be filled on the map, logic suggests that there's going to be 2 new floor types. There will also be new traps and new anima powers, and unfortunately, nothing else to announce regarding rewards or gameplay modes like leaderboards. However, it does appear that the death counter is going to go away. The whole notion of failing a Twisting Corridors climb on the 18th floor, that's going to be no more. They've only tossed around some ideas like having a rating or a score based on, for example, how many times you died. They also mentioned speed and efficiency, which I'm already going to say no, don't do that. I mean, let people do what they want. If they want to do speed climbs, yeah, sure, let them have their jollies, but we've seen really intense pushback during the alpha over the very principle of a timer in Torghast. But keeping the death count low, yeah, okay, that's something that I can get behind. The Sanctum of Domination raid is still at the starting stages of development. It sounds like they are at least doing initial encounter tests, but we don't know what the layout of the raid is going to be, if it's linear or if it's winged like Castle Nathria, if there's going to be a skip, and so on and so forth. Tier sets per class won't be making an appearance, but considering the theme, the Maw raid sets that were featured back during the alpha and beta will be the armor sets that we finally get to transmog into, which, yeah, that makes sense to me. And it seems that maybe these will have bonuses, maybe set bonuses based on the power of domination, whatever that means. As for loot drops and raids, the recent bonus is currently the Band-Aid until patch 9.1, but there could be something new coming. Just gotta stay tuned. My hopes are that it's pretty similar to the PvP and the upcoming Valor system, so that there's this sense of familiarity when jumping between these different pillars of content. Tazavesh, kind of like Mechagon, is sort of tied to the Shadowlands story, but at least when it comes to the mood, it's supposed to be a departure from the epic but more dark and brooding Chains of Domination storyline. There's questing to build up the context of why you're going to such a weird place, but it seems that there's not going to be any attunement. You can just go in right away. We didn't learn much about outdoor content in the original Shadowlands zones, but Blizzard does acknowledge that while there are 3 definitive pillars of late-game content, as in raids, dungeons, and PvP, everyone should have goals to strive for, even if it's just from outdoor content. Flying is going to be an even simpler unlock than we thought. Complete the 9.1 storyline that sets up this whole Chains of Domination thing, and then we can fly. However, there could be a snag. Recent patch content suggests that this storyline can be completed day 1, but for all we know, the campaign itself could be gated by renown. It has been said that the renown cap is going to go up, but no rewards or anything like that have been revealed as to, what you actually unlock, so we'll just have to see if this ends up tying together. Still, at least it's better than a rep grind. Soulbinds will not get wider, as in, we're not going to get new soulbinds, but our current soulbind trees are going to get deeper. New traits and conduits will be added. There's the possibility of conduits that influence our Covenant signature abilities, as well as this thing called empowered conduits that, I guess we provide a bonus to make them stronger or to have additional effects. So here's a thought, but imagine an empowered fleshcraft that can affect a group. or an owl person that can join you in battle. I'm going to list other things that they were more or less open to feedback on, but they didn't really have anything to say about it, as in covenant swapping, heritage armor, Torghast rewards and features, doing something about boosts on the group finder tool, PvP solo queuing, leaving Mythic Plus dungeons, and I'm sure that I missed more than a few. One of the bigger bombs that dropped from the recent Q&A was from Ian with regards to faction imbalance and the possibility of players being able to play together regardless of faction choice. It's no longer off the table to consider breaking barriers and letting Horde and Alliance players group together for endgame content, although I think we still have a long way to go. I've been a big champion of this as of late, so it's nice to see that the armor is finally beginning to crack. Ian has said that when looking at population numbers as a whole, the factions are pretty balanced, but when taking a closer look, especially looking at the top level, it reveals obvious bias. Speaking for myself, I truly believe that there's a compromise that can be made between having pride in the faction that you chose and teaming together against a common foe, which time and time again we've done. I think we can have both. It's as easy as having quest content that's exclusive to a faction, just like there's content exclusive to a race or a class, because at the end of the day, we all come back together to represent the same interests, which is farming transmog. And another big bit of pretty disappointing news, the team has no plans to push any new character customizations in Shadowlands. I felt like I had to sit down with my Twitch chat to explain why their parents don't love them anymore or something, but this is a really big letdown after the initial reveal of character customizations and Blizzard's pledge to continue on with them in future patches. I know this sounds like an excuse, right? But if there are bumps in the road with development like, I don't know, a global pandemic, if there's content that needs to be pushed back, I'd probably choose something like this to put on the shelf. Now I'm just speaking for me. I know that people are very passionate about this, but I'm just speaking for me. But I think Blizzard would get the least amount of hate if they were to unleash character customizations in like really big dumps rather than trickling them out. Because consider the initial release of character customizations in Shadowlands, especially as they were being pushed each week during the alpha and the beta. There was lots of praise and an arguably greater amount of salt each week because, oh, those races got something, but my race didn't. What if 9.1 gave customizations to just Zandalari trolls or the Cool Tyrant? Or what if every race got some love, but all they got were tattoos? This is one of those situations where I've got to ask, are these one of those opportunities to bring up premium content? Because let's say that in a few patches, right? Let's say that in a few patches we're at a state where all the races did get a healthy dose of customization. But what happens afterwards? I can kind of see premium content start to roll in with some crazy looking tattoo art, wild hairstyles, jewelry options, like really gaudy stuff. It's been known that the best way to bring in premium cosmetics is to also include free options, easy stuff like eye and hair color, skin tones, and facial features. My takeaway from all this is that thanks to excuses that Blizzard doesn't even want to insult us by using, they were just forced to push back character customization to keep things moving. That's pretty much the show, and it's likely that there's more news to come even as I record and publish this video, so be on the lookout. I hope that this helped you get up to speed on what we learned from BlizzCon that you might have missed. A huge thanks to the team at Wowhead for helping pull all this information together because it's a real mess to find it all on my own. So stay tuned for more content as we get closer to 905 and the 9.1 PTR, which is gonna feel like a billion years from now. And thanks to you for watching. If this weekly / recap guide was useful, please hit that like button to help me out and subscribe for more of this and all things Warcraft. We'll see you next week, and until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.